If you or your elderly parents are green card holders in the United States and frequently travel to India, you need to be aware of a growing issue at the United States airports. More and more senior citizens, particularly Indians, are being stopped for secondary inspection, detained overnight, and even pressurized to give up their green cards by the US Customs and Border Protection officers. Immigration attorneys have observed a very sharp rise in such cases, specifically affecting elderly Indians who live with their children in the US but prefer to spend the winter months in India. You know, the reason behind this is US immigration law on green card holders staying outside the country for a long period of time. If a green card holder spends more than 180 days, that is approximately 6 months, outside the US in a single trip, they are considered as seeking readmission and can be questioned about whether they are truly residing in the US or not. For those who stay outside for more than a year, CBP may assume that they have abandoned their permanent residency, making them ineligible to re-enter without a special re-entry permit. Even in cases where an elderly individual spends less than 6 months outside but frequently travels back and forth, officers may still challenge their status and question whether they are genuinely living in the US or not. Many immigration attorneys have reported such cases where CBP officers have detained senior green card holders and asked them to sign Form I-407, which is a voluntarily surrender of their green cards. You know, this is a very crucial mistake. A green card cannot be taken away by an airport officer. Only and only an immigration judge has the power to revoke it. However, once somebody signs Form I-407, they automatically loses their permanent residency status and cannot fight their case in the court. Several elderly travelers, including Indians, have signed this particular form out of fear, confusion, or even language barriers, only to realize later that they have lost their green cards permanently. Attorneys strongly advise that nobody should ever sign Form I-407 at the airport. Instead, they should insist on their right to see an immigration judge and present their case. This strict enforcement is not entirely new, by the way. During the Trump administration also last time, there were even reports of CBP officers handing out green card surrender forms on flight before even landing. This aggressive approach is returning now, making it even more important for elderly green card holders to be very cautious about traveling. CBP officers are reportedly being more aggressive than ever in challenging seniors who spend extended period in India. Some officers have threatened detention or even removal proceeding to scare elderly travelers into surrendering their residency. For elderly green card holders who need to travel to India or any other country for a long period of time, it is very important to take precautions to avoid being targeted at the airport. Avoid staying outside the US for more than 6 months at a time until and unless absolute necessity. If a longer stay is required, apply for a re-entry permit before even leaving the US, which allows a green card holder to remain outside for up to 2 years without being questioned on the re-entry. Also, make sure to maintain strong ties to the US. Now, this includes owning a property, paying taxes, keeping a valid US driving license, and maintaining a residence in the country. If CBP challenges somebody's residency, presenting proof of US ties can actually defend against claims of green card abandonment. If an elderly green card holder is stopped at the airport, they must stay calm and they should not panic. They should refuse to sign any document without consulting an attorney and firmly state their intention to see an immigration judge if required. While secondary inspection and even overnight detention can be very stressful, surrendering a green card under pressure is far worse outcome. Most immigration judges are unlikely to support CBP's strict stance, and in many cases, people who push back against CBP officers are eventually allowed to enter the US. However, those who sign Form I-407 lose their green card permanently and they cannot appeal the decision. With these recent developments, it is more important than ever for elderly green card holders, including Indians, to be aware of their rights. If your parents or relatives are planning to travel back to the US after an extended stay in India or elsewhere, make sure that they understand the risk and they are fully prepared. The best way to protect a green card is to limit long absence from the United States, maintain proof of residency, and never sign any document at the airport without legal advice. If you or somebody you know has faced similar issues at the border, share your experience in the comment section.